Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. So from today onwards, we are going to start the past paper series of the SBR and F7. Today we will start with the IAS 16, IAS 36, impairment of assets. These past papers are not from the ACC side, and I have selected these past papers from other professional qualification because I personally think that these questions are very helpful for your revision. You can say these are the benchmark questions for the IAS 36 impairment. What I will do from now onwards, I will try to pick the benchmark questions which will help you in your revision. So the lectures you can watch from the ACCA Pass Point channel of the SBR and F7. Then for the practice session, you can refer these lectures. Now, the question number one is from the basic impairment calculation. Before reading the question, let me give you an overview about IAS 36 impairment of an asset. Impairment means sudden fall in the value of an asset. Let's say the value of an asset written on the book is 3 lakh. This is the minimum economic benefit. Now there are some events, some indicators. Indicators could be internal or external. Let's say management is not willing to use that asset and the output of that asset is not up to the mark and management is decided to sell that particular asset. So these are the internal indicators. The external indicators, you can say natural disaster, reduction in the political stability, or there are other economic factors as well. So these are the external indicators. Then because of that indicators, the value of the asset is going to reduce. Carrying amount we have discussed in the start was 3 lakh. But now the recoverable amount is the higher of fair value less cost to sell or value in use. Fair value in this case is the bid price, means on which you are going to sell your asset or the market participant is going to acquire your asset. So the fair value is the sales value on which the market participant is going to acquire your asset. And value in use means the economic benefits you will get from the continuing use of this asset. So recoverable amount is the higher of fair value less cost to sell and value in use. Please keep in mind in this case, the fair value is bid price. You will get offer price, ask price. So in this case, again repeating, the fair value should be bid price. Bid price is the price on which market participant is going to acquire your asset. Now for the cost to sale. In the cost to sale, you can get multiple costs, but for the cost to sale, you have to pick those costs which is incremental in nature. Incremental cost should be become part of cost of sale. Now for the value in use, make sure you are not going to include in the present value of value in use overhauling, future overhauling cost and inflows related to the future overhauling, because it's not about the past or present, it's for the future and we do not know either this overhauling will be done or not. Also, if there is any receivable or payable from past performance, then those receivable payable should not be included in the inflow or outflows of the value in use. So also for the interest, interest cost should also not become part of the cash flows in order to calculate the present value for the value in use. Why? Because we already calculate the present value based on interest. So interest element is already included in the present value. That's why you do not need to incorporate the interest or finance cost. Now for the taxation, tax will also not be included in the value in use. Why? Because you are taking the rate, the discounted rate, which should be pre-tax. If it's written in the equation that the discount rate is after tax, then only you can include the taxation amount. Otherwise, no need to include the tax figure. So now guys, we are done with the basic overview of the impairment. If you want more detailed analysis of the IAS 36 impairment, then watch the lecture on the ACCA Pass Point channel under the playlist of SBR F7 lectures. Let's read the requirement, calculate the impairment loss if any and prepare profit and loss extracts. Question number one, basic impairment calculation. Balance sheet of ABC Limited was showing a plant at a balance of rupees 16 million on 1st January 2015. So this is the value, you can say, minimum economic benefit. Remaining life of the plant is expected to be 8 years. Residual value of the asset at the end of its useful life is estimated to be rupees 2.5 million. This is not the value in use, this is the residual value. Please be attentive. At 31st December 2016 means after 2 years. The start date was 1st Jan 2015. Now at 31st December 2016 means after 2 years. I was known to the company that the asset is physically damaged. This is the external indicator and will not be able to produce at 100% capacity means there is a reduction in the value in the economic production of the asset. The company evaluated the asset for impairment and found out the following values. Now, value in use is rupees 9 million, fair value is 8.75 million, cost to sale is 5,70,000. So, these components will be your recoverable amount, and only recoverable amount is the higher of two things: fair value less cost to sale or value in use. Whichever is higher, your recoverable amount is. Now, here is the solution. On 1st Jan 2015, the cost is 16 million. Look, 16 million, 16 million. Now, we get the impairment hint after 2 years. So first year depreciation is 1.6875 million. Depreciation for the year 2 is again same. How to calculate the depreciation? Cost minus residual value divided by useful life. So 16 million divided by 16 million less 2.5 million divided by 8 is the useful life. You will get the per year depreciation. Same for the year 2 because we are using the SLM method, straight line method. So now we have a carrying amount of 12.625 million at 31st December 2016, on which date we get the impairment hint. Now hint of impairment. Impairment is recorded when carrying amount is higher than recoverable amount. So now you have a carrying value, but you do not have a recoverable amount because for the recoverable amount, you have to do the extra calculation. Recoverable amount is the higher of two things. One is fair value less cost to sale or value in use. We have a value in use of 9 million, but for the fair value less cost to sale, we have to do the little bit adjustment. So now guys, we have a carrying value of 12.625 million at 31st December 2016. Now we have to calculate the recoverable amount. Even though we have a value in use, but we need to do the adjustment for the fair value less cost to sale. So here fair value is 8.75 million and cost to sale is 570. Fair value less cost to sale is 8.18 million. How? 8.75 minus 570, you will get the fair value less cost to sale or value in use is 9 million. So recoverable amount is the higher of, that's why we choose value in use as the recoverable amount because it's higher. Carrying amount is 12.625 million, which we have calculated at 31st December 2016. Recoverable amount is 9 million. So the difference is impairment, which is 3.625 million. So the entry is impairment expense P&L debit, PPE or asset credit by 3.625 million. So this is the basic questions for the impairment. Now we are moving to the question number 2, which in this question you have to calculate the carrying value, fair value less cost to sale, and value in use is given in this question. So now guys, let's start this question. This is question number 2. ABC Limited owns an asset having the following details. Requirement: calculate impairment loss, if any, assuming a discount rate of 10% is appropriate in the above scenario. Why discount rate is given even though we have the value in use? Wait a minute guys, I will tell you each and everything. Now carrying amount is 6 million. Fair value measures. In this case, you can see the cost to sale is given separately and the data of the cost to sale is larger than the previous question. So fair value measures, we have offer price by company. Look, this is the thing which I have discussed in the start. Offer price by company 5 million. This is the price quoted by the company. Average of bid and offer. In this case, there is no bid price. There is an average of bid and offer, which is 4.25 million. Now, replacement value is rupees 8 million. Let me tell you the difference between these three prices. Offer price, you can say the ask price. Let's say I have a pen and the value of the pen is $5. I am asking the market participant that I want $5 for this pen. The market participant told me that I will purchase this pen at $4.2. So this is the bid price from the market participant. Also, the market participant told me that the similar price pen in the market worth $8. So this is the replacement value. The similar pen price in the market, this is the replacement price. The price I quoted to the market participant is the offer price, and the price quoted by the market participant for my pen is the bid price. Now guys, you have to calculate the bid price. How? Don't worry, we will do it. Now the point number 3, we have cost to sale includes the following. From these costs, we have to identify the cost to sale component. First, we have transportation cost. If you remember in the start, I have mentioned that only incremental means additional cost will be included in the C2S. Transportation cost, of course, it's necessary. It's an additional cost. Yes, it will become part of cost to sale. Brokerage to external broker. Yeah, external broker, of course, it's kind of marketing. If there is no broker, then how you will sell it? So brokerage cost is necessary. So that's why it is also included in cost to sale. Now, brokerage to external broker 1 year time means after 1 year. This is the future value, but we need present value. That's why there is a discount rate of 10%. So you have to discounting it to calculate the present value. This will also be part of cost to sale. Now, apportionment of staff salary working on disposal. No, this is not an additional cost. You are using your staff for this work. If it's written that the staff will get an additional salary or an additional kind for this service, then that cost will become part of cost to sale. But in this case, it's an apportionment of staff salary, so no need to include in cost to sale. Now, incremental staff cost for disposal execution. This is an incremental staff cost, so that's why it is also included in the cost to sale, which is 16,000. Now, stamp duty is mandatory, 10,000 included in the cost to sale. Capital value tax. If it's income tax, then no need to include it. It's a capital value tax, so it is included. Registration of ownership charges. It's a legal service or a legal fee, so that's why it is also included. Retraining cost of staff. We all know staff related cost should be expense out, so it should not be included in the cost to sale. Now, guys, in the point 4, we have a value in use of 4 million. Let's start the solution. we have a carrying amount of 6 million. After that, we have a fair value. But in the fair value, we have to do the adjustment. In the question, we are given with the offer price, which is 5 million, and the average of bid and offer price, which is 4.25 million. If you remember the formula of the average price, which you have learned in your early career, so average is bid plus offer divided by 2, you will get the average price. Now I have written the formula, you just have to put the data. Average of the bid and offer value is 4.25, which I have written here. Then bid plus 5 million. 5 million is the offer price. Bid plus offer. So bid, you can say, is X plus offer, which is 5 million divided by 2. Now this 2 is in the divide, is in the denominator, so now it will multiply with this 4.25, you will get the 8.5 million. 8.5 million equal to bid plus 5 million. Now this 5 million is in the negative side, so 8.5 million divided minus 5 million, you will get the bid price, which is 3.5 million. So now you calculate the fair value, but you have to calculate the cost to sale as well. I have written only incremental cost will be included. So transportation cost, we have, this is not a this is the transportation cost. 150, brokerage 2 lakh, to external today. Brokerage 1 lakh, present value 110 divided by 1.1 raised the power 1 to external today, which is 1 lakh. Apportionment staff salary negative, incremental staff salary 16,000, stamp duty 10,000, capital value tax 40,000, registration charges 16,000. 16,000 retraining cost is nil because it is not part of cost to sale. The cost to sale is 532,000. So now you have to pick the recoverable amount higher of fair value less cost to sale is 2.968 million, or value in use, which is 4 million. Of course, we will go with the value in use as a recoverable amount because it's a higher amount. Now impairment is 2 million. How 2 million? 6 million was the carrying amount, 6 million less value in use, which is 4 million. So the impairment is 2 million in this case. The entry is impairment expense or P&L debit, PPE or asset is credit. So now guys, we are done with the question number 2, in which we have learned how to calculate the fair value, what are the fair value, what is the difference between offer, bid, and replacement, and which cost included in the cost to sale. Now, guys, question number 3 is about the value in use, like how to calculate the value in use. So, please be attentive. This is a big question. Let's read the requirement first, then we will solve the question. Calculate impairment at 31st December 2012, if any. Now, guys, this is the question 3. S Limited is about to test one of its major plants for impairment on account of different indicators. Following are the details. Carrying amount at 31st December 2011, 6.45 million. Remaining life on 31st December 2012. The carrying amount we are given with the 2011, but the remaining life is 2012, which is 5 years. So you have to be skeptical, you have to revise back, means you have to do the value for the last year. So you should go back, and in the 2011 the remaining life was 6 years. How 6 years? Because if in the 2012 it's 5 years, so of course it's mean that in the last year it was 6 years. So this is the first trick which you have to apply. The plant could be sold for rupees 3.2 million after incurring the following costs. Brokerage rupees 1,50,000, transfer taxes on signing of contract 40,000, in 12 months time rupees 70,000. Again you have to calculate the present value. Now, if the asset is put to use for the remainder of its life, the following cash flows would result. So there is a word cash flows. So these data will help us in identifying the value in use. Now we have a sales for the year 2013 shall be 9,000. Means in the 2013 we will do the cash flows for 5 years: 2013, 14, 15, 16 and 17. So in the 2013 the sales unit are 9,000, which will reduce from the next year by 5%. So what you should do, you should multiply 9,000 with the 0.95 because it is reducing for the remainder of the useful life of the plant. So the useful life of the plant is 5 years. Now guys, selling price for the 2013 shall be rupees 500 per unit and will increase by 4% per annum to a maximum of rupees 550 per unit. It means in the 2013 the sales price per unit is 500 and in the 2014 it's increased by 4%, means 500 multiplied by 1.04. So you will have to increase by every year, but make sure the increase should not be larger than 550. This is the limit. Let's say the increase in the 2015 is 560. So you have to write down 550, not 560. Now cost per unit means variable cost. Direct material and rupees 70 per unit details generally purchased from market, of course. Direct material P, so there are two kind of materials N and P. P rupees means cost is 50, but there is a detail. Purchase from subsidiary, its fair market value is rupees 65 per unit. So guys, whenever there is a group transaction, you have to ensure that the transaction should not be considered as a loss transaction. Like if you are purchasing from a subsidiary, so you are getting it at a reduced price, which is 40, but from the market, the fair value is 65. So you have to choose the fair value, the 65, the market value. Direct labor 60, skilled labor hired on casual basis, variable overheads 40, mainly power and allied cost. Now fixed production cost for 2013 would be 1.75 million. But this amount include depreciation of this plant. So you have to reduce the depreciation impact. Remember the carrying amount is given 6.45. So you have to divide it by 6 because the life at 31st December 2011 was 6 years. So 6.45 divided by 6, you will get the depreciation of 1.075. 1.075 depreciation should be deducted from this fixed cost. Then you will get the net fixed cost because this is the cash flow, and depreciation and other related expenses are non-cash expenses, means non-cash item. So non-cash item never included in the cash flows. Of course you know this thing. Now, guys, point number 5, operating and all other costs per annum are as under. The following costs include finance costs that will be paid on the loan obtained for the acquisition of this asset, which is still outstanding to some extent. The cash flows also contain income taxes worked out as a share reasonably allocated to the asset considering its income generated by it and other factors. So now guys, in the start I have mentioned that you have to reduce, means you have to deduct the finance cost and income tax. Why finance cost? Because we are already discounting it, we are calculating the present value, so the interest component is already there. And why income tax? Because if we are going to use the discount rate pre-tax, then no need to include the income tax. Let's read the point 6. All costs other than operating cost. All costs other than operating cost shall increase by 6% per annum. Discount rate applicable to the company and in specific to the equipment under consideration is 10% pre-tax. It's written pre-tax, so no need to include these income tax figures. So now guys, let's solve this question. I will not show you the question again because it's impossible to move two slides at a time. So solution carrying amount we are given at 31st December 2011 is 6.45 million. Now we need to go back to the year 11, so that date the life was 6 years. Remaining life 5 years on 31st December 2012, but we have to go back, means to the 11 the life was 6 years. So carrying amount 6.45 million per year, depreciation 1.0756450 divided by 6, you will get the depreciation for the per year, and the carrying amount at 31st December 2011 is 5.375. So at this date, at 31st December 2011, the life is 5 years, and at 31st December 2011, the life is 6 years. So now we are done with the carrying amount. Let's solve the recoverable amount component, and in which first start with the fair value less cost to sale. Fair value less cost to sale, fair value given in the equation 3.2 million. Cost to sale, we have to do the little working. Brokerage 150 given in the equation. Transfer taxes given in the equation 40,000, but present value of taxes was given for the future value. We have to calculate the present value. How to calculate the present value? Let me show you. 70,000 divided by 1.1. Why 1.1? Because the discount factor, discount rate is 10%. So 1.1 raised the power 1, you will get the present value of 63636. Once you add these three, you will get 253,636. 3.2 minus 253, you will get the fair value less cost to sale, which is 294,6364. Now you are done with the one component of recoverable amount. The second component is value in use. Remember the 5 year from 2013 to the life of the asset. The life of the asset is 5 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sales unit 9,000 at 2013, and after that reduced by 5%. So 9,000 multiplied by 0.95, you will get 8,550. 8,550 multiplied by 0.95, you will get 8,123. 8,123 multiplied by 0.95, you will get 7,716, and 7,716 multiplied by 0.95, you will get 7,331. Now sales price increased by 4%, but maximum 550. So 500 in 2013. In 2014 increased by 4%. So 500 multiplied by 1.04, which gives you 520. In the year 3, 520 multiplied by 1.04, you will get 541. And in the year 4, 541 multiplied by 1.04, you will get 550. And in the year 5, again the increase is exceeding from the 550, so we have to restrict it at 550. That's why in the year 4 and 5 I have written 550. Now guys, variable cost per unit, direct material N plus P. In this case I have combined both the material. Remember, in the material P, we were purchasing it from the subsidiary at a lower rate, but the market value was 65. So you have to took it at the market price, which is 65. So N plus P in year 1, 135, and in the second year, they are increasing it by 6%. Remember, all costs other than operating cost increase by 6%. So 135 multiplied by 1.06, you will get 143. In the year 3, 143 multiplied by 1.06, you will get 152, and so on. Direct labor cost 60 in the year 2013, means year 1. In the year 2, 1.06 multiplied by 60, you will get the increase, which is 64, and then so on till year 5. Same goes for the overheads. Now guys, the total variable cost per unit is 235 in the year 1, 249 in year 2, 264 in year 3, and then so on. Now calculate the total sales. Total sales means sales price per unit multiplied by sales unit. Means 500 multiplied by 9,000, you will get 4.5, 446, 4392, 4244, and so on. For the variable cost, do the same. 235 multiplied by 9,000, you will get the 2115, because we have to reduce, means we have to less the cost from the sales price. Then means inflow minus outflows, then you will get the net flows. And on the net flows, you have to calculate the present value. So now guys, fixed cost excluding depreciation. Look, the fixed cost given in the question was 1.75, but there is a depreciation of 1.05. I have written the asterisk so you can see here. Fixed cost also increased by 6%, so you apply 6% all the remaining 4 years. Operating cost net. Net means net of interest and expenses. So you will get 272 in the year 1, 380 in the year 2, 371 in the year 3, and so on. Once you add or less all these four, you will get the net, which is 1.438. 1220695, 1118504 in the year 3, 812769 in year 4, and 530614 in year 5. So now guys, you have to calculate the present value at 10% discounted, which is pre-tax. How to calculate the present value? In the numerator, you have to write the net cash flow, and in the denominator, you have to write the 1 plus interest. The interest is 10%, so 1 plus 0.1 raise the power 1. Why 1? Because you are in the year 1, so you have to calculate the present value to the year 0. So you have to do the discounting. 1.438 divided by 1.1 raised the power 1, you will get the 1307 present value in year 1. Now you are in the year 2, so you have to again discount by the year 0. So in this case, the power should be 2. Now in the year 3, the power should be 3. In the year 4, the power should be 4. And in the 5, the power should be 5. So once you calculate the present value, add all these, you will get the value in use, which is 4.04. Now guys, compare it. Whichever is higher, pick the recoverable amount. Of course, the higher amount is value in use. So carrying amount 5375 minus recoverable amount, you will get the impairment loss. So now guys, we are done with the three different questions. In the first question, we solve the basic question. In the second question, we do the fair value and cost to sale adjustment. In the question number 3, we will solve the value in use calculation. Hope you are getting it. Now guys, this is the very important question for your CGU perspective. M Limited has two cash generating units producing cash independently of each other. One of these units means one of these. There are two CGUs, but from these two, one of these means this is one of them. Units has shown indications of impairment. The constituents of the CGU are as under. Particulars: building, furniture and fixture, vehicles, apportioned goodwill, stock in trade, account receivable. Okay, guys, what is the CGU? If I tell you the definition, so the definition is smallest identifiable group of assets that generates cash flows independently. Let's say you have a bakery and you are supplying the bakery items to the customers. So for the delivery, you have a van. What do you think? The van can only generate cash flows for you, or the bakery items can only generate cash flows for you? What if you do not have a delivery van? So how will you deliver your products to the customer? Of course, you can't deliver your products to the customer. For the delivery, you need a lorry, you need a van, you need other vehicle. So all these assets become CGU. Why? Because all these assets are generating cash flows for your organization or for your entity. So that's why these are the CGUs, smallest identifiable group of assets that generates cash flows independently. It is difficult to calculate the value in use of the individual item. That's why for the easiness, we will include or we will club them as a CGU, cash generating unit. So now guys, this is the concept for the CGU. Let's read the question, then we will solve it. So the recoverable amount of the whole cash generating unit is 215,000. Now guys, there is a carrying amount, fair value less cost to sale means this is the recoverable amount. and the total recoverable amount is 215,000. Let's solve this question. You have to make the table like this. In first column, particulars, carrying value, impairment, and recoverable amount. First, you have to eliminate the goodwill. Complete goodwill. Why complete goodwill we eliminate first? Because whenever there is any impact on your business, the first thing should be affected is your goodwill, is your image, is your brand reputation, which is the goodwill. So that's why we eliminate the goodwill first. Goodwill 40,000, you can see 40,000. So just impaired out the complete goodwill. So the recoverable amount is zero for the goodwill. Now building is 1,25,000. But for the building, we have a fair value less cost to sell, means the recoverable amount. So 125,000 and 1 lakh. So the impairment is 25,000. Now furniture and fixture is 45,000. No fair value means no recoverable amount. So we have to apportion the impairment. Don't worry, I will tell you each and everything. Vehicles 60,000, and for the vehicles, the fair value, the recoverable amount is 30,000. But you can see here I have write the 36,000. How it is possible that I have write the 30,000 even though the recoverable amount of the vehicle is 30,000? Don't worry, I will tell you. Maybe it's an error. What do you think? Can anyone tell me, please? Wait a minute, I will tell you each and everything. So now, guys, stock in trade is 14,000, but in this case, it is 20,000. Wait a minute, guys, there is a NRV of 60% stock, means NRV of 60%. 60% of this amount stock is 14,000. So NRV is 14,000. We have to calculate the cost. How to calculate the cost? 60% of 20,000, you will get the cost, which is 12,000. Remaining 40% stock has an NRV of 2,000. Again, 40% of 20,000, you will get the cost. Do the working here. The total stock value is 20,000 given in the question. 60% and 40%. 60% NRV is 14,000, cost is 12,000. 60 multiplied by 20, you will get the 12,000 cost. Now the 40% NRV is 2,000 given in the question, and the cost is 8,000. 40 multiplied by 20, you will get the 8,000. In the inventory, we all know inventory shall be measured at lower of cost or NRV. So in this case, the cost is lower. So we pick for the 60% cost. And in the 40%, the NRV is lower. So we pick NRV for the 40%. So the stock revised value is 14,000 as per IAS2. 12,000 plus 2,000. So the total is 14,000, which I have written here. Now you can ask why we are not going to impair the inventory. Guide, if you have watched the lecture, in that lecture I have explained that there are specific assets which have a specific standard for the impairment, and for the stock, means for the inventory, we have IAS2 which we just applied. Look, the reduction, the NRV, it is as per IAS2. So 60% NRV is higher, therefore we took cost 12,000, and 40% cost is higher, so we took NRV 12,000. So the total is 14,000, which I have written here. There is no impairment, so I have written the complete recoverable amount of 14,000. Same goes for the account receivable, because for the account receivable impairment, we have a separate, which is IFRS 9. Once you move to the IFRS 9 lecture, then you will get better understanding. So now, guys, we are done with the question. The data we are input is correct, but now calculate the impairment of the fixture, furniture, and the vehicles. For the vehicles, I have mentioned that the fair value is 30,000, but I have written 36,000. Let me tell you, guys, but first read these lines. Whenever you are apportionment the impairment after deducting goodwill, the total impairment in this question was 107. How 107? 322 is your revised carrying amount minus recoverable amount. You will get the 107 impairment. So once you deduct 40,000 from this 107, you will get the Let me calculate it again. You will get the, I think, 60 something. Yeah, you will get the 67,000. So now the 67,000 should be apportioned between these three non-current assets. Okay. Whenever you are apportionment the impairment after deducting the goodwill impairment, keep in mind that the net value of the NCA means net value. Net value in this case is the recoverable amount. Keep in mind that the net value of the NCA means carrying amount less impairment should not be less than given recoverable amount. Given recoverable amount are these ones. Look, these ones, this one. So should not be less than given recoverable amount of that particular assets after deducting the impairment. I know you are not getting it. Like in this question, we have a separate fair value less cost to sale of building which is 1 lakh. Look. But if we apportion the impairment directly to the building after deducting goodwill figure, then the value of the building will be less than 1 lakh. Again, I am, no, you are not getting it. So here is the illustration. Total impairment is 107,000. Look, goodwill we first eliminate. So the goodwill impairment is 40,000. The net impairment is 67,000. Now, the above discussion I have written here is the practical allocation to fixed assets. Once you deduct the goodwill impairment from the total impairment, then the remaining impairment should be allocated to the other assets. But you have to be skeptical. You have to ensure that the impairment you are going to allocate to the other assets, means to the non-current assets, should not reduce their net amount to the fair value or value in use given in the question. Means it should not be reduced by their carrying amount. Now guys, building value, if you apportion the impairment to the building. So the building impairment is 36413. How 36413? 67,000 is the remaining impairment. Multiply by 125,000. 125,000 is the carrying amount of building. Divided by 125 plus 45 plus 60, because these three are the NCA on which we have to apportion the 67,000 impairment. So the building impairment amount is 36413. Now, guys, value of the building is 88,587. How 88,587? Look, 125 is the carrying amount minus impairment. Now, guys, you can see the value of the building is less than the carrying, less than the fair value, less cost to sell, means less than the recoverable amount given in the question. So you have to consider these things while apportionment the impairment. Make sure the impairment amount you are going to allocate to the assets, those assets have a recoverable amount, means those assets have an individually have a separate recoverable amount. Then you have to ensure that the impairment allocation should not reduce their carrying value, should not reduce their net amount to the amount given in the question. Now, look, the value of the building is less than 1 lakh. That's why you have to be skeptical while allocation. Now, guys, you do not need to allocate the impairment to the building. Why? Because the building recoverable amount is 1 lakh. So 1 lakh and the 125 difference is 25,000. Of course, this is the impairment because your carrying amount of the building was 125 and now the recoverable amount is 1 lakh. So it is 25,000 impairment. Now, guys, how to calculate the impairment of the furniture fixture 18,000 and vehicles 24,000? So you first calculate the net impairment which is 67,000. How 67? 107 minus 40,000 is 67,000. But now you allocate or you identify the impairment of the building as well. So again, you have to exclude the impairment of the building from this figure. 67, again repeating 67 minus 25, you will get the 42,000. So that 42,000 should be allocated to the furniture, fixture and vehicles. If you add these two, it is 42,000. How to apportion? Just like this. From 125 you will write 45 and you have to remove the 125,000 because you are apportioned the remaining impairment of 42,000 to the two assets, fair value, sorry, fixture and furniture and vehicles. So you have to choose the carrying value of the fixture, furniture and vehicles. No need to include the value of the building. I hope guys you are getting these things. I know this is difficult, but these are the major and important concepts. For the F7 students, you may find difficulty in these questions because you have not solved such questions in your kit. But this kind of questions are there in your study hub. So I am not going to do your practice from the study kit. My aim is to provide a detailed analysis and the detailed discussion questions which can help you in your real exam. So there is a question number 5 similar to the question number 4 which we have just solved. So this is your assignment. Even though I have write down the answer, you just need to revise the question 4 then solve the question number 5. I hope guys I can done my part. Now it's up to you. If you want to be a professional in the IAS 36 impairment of an assets, then these 5 questions are your benchmark. So please start with the question number 1, then move on. Take care and best wishes.